Yo guys, welcome back. Russ here, and today I'm bringing you another video, another walkthrough, talk through kind of thing. This time for Mists of Tiramisu, Mists of Tirna Scithe. We're going to be doing this one today on a 16. What you're seeing on the screen right now is just us prepping for the dungeon. There's a little trick, so I thought I'd let you guys know about it. Basically, what you can do is put the key in the little key holder thingy before you start the key. And then you're going to pretty much run to the first boss, do the little sap skip on the way, and open up this gate to the what's it called? The little garden place where you can pick up the mushrooms if you have a night fae in your group. You want the green mushrooms, they give you 10% main stat, so that's strength, agility, intellect, etc. And you can actually get that before you put the key in, and then you'll maintain it once the key begins. That's at time of recording. I don't know if that's still in the game, but I thought I'd let you guys know about it while I put my talents and gear and stuff up on the screen. So what we're doing, yeah, we're just grabbing the 10-minute buff, and that basically is just going to give us 10% main stat completely for free at the start of the key, and then we're just going to refresh it when we get back to the garden, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get there. Don't leave the dungeon after you pick up this buff. Don't go out the dungeon to like reset the trash or something and then put the key in just straight up, you know. Well, preferably you can put the key up open on your screen, go get it, and then just start the key from there. But if you forget to do that, you have to go back to the start with the buff and then go from there, right? But yeah, it's just a little bonus tip. Anyway, on with the key. So once again, as the key is counting down, I just thought I'd give myself a little shout out to my Twitch, which is my main thing that I got going. As you can see today, you got me down in the little corner on the bottom left. That's this one was taken live on stream. So if you do see some emotes and things flying up on the screen halfway through, that's because you know, or me just talking away. And that's not actually me recording right now. I'm doing a voiceover, but I was obviously talking on stream and things at the time. So that's you got a little, you got me to look at, you know, do with it as you will, whatever. And but yeah, we're basically going to this first pack, and this is a, what is it? Tyrannical, inspiring, and necrotic. We're just going to be kicking these harvesters, especially when they do the AoE harvest ability. I'll tell you what that one's called in a second. But basically, these that was it. I just kicked it. I'll tell you it's on the next pack. Basically, these turn-in villagers, these are going to do these overgrowths on it. Just one little rogue trick that you can do. As usual kind of thing to dodge mechanics. You can vanish that if it goes on you, and you can also cloak that if it goes on you. Saves your team having to break it out. There you go. It was a Harvest Essence, the AoE channel from the JustRuss harvesters. That is what you definitely want to be kicking. Any other kicks can just be used on the spirit bolts to mitigate some damage on your tank. But yeah, these Tyrann villagers, you see there, he put a cocoon on, I think it was my warrior. He's basically just gonna channel something at someone, and then you have to break them out by DPSing it. It's like as if they got, you know, put in a spider cocoon or spider web or something like that, right? So pretty simple stuff. I can fast forward this a tiny bit as we go on to the next little skippy skip, but this trash is probably some of the hardest in the whole dungeon. So once you get through this stuff on a fortified week, this is obviously a tyrannical week. Once you get through this stuff on a fortified week, it definitely gets a little bit easier. So take your time on this trash. Feel free to use your cooldowns and things. There you go. I got the overgrowth on me. I didn't vanish it. So bad boy, Russ. Bad boy. Didn't cloak it either. But, you know, the guy was dying anyway. Anyway, on this mob here, you want to sap the harvester. Everyone's going to walk past. And then we're going to sap this soul cleaver up on the left. And everyone can walk past again. There's a pretty, you know, we shouted for safety here, but we can open the gate from the corner, and then we can just go in and refresh our mushroom stack. One thing I will point out is that we actually should not have refreshed the mushroom stack until after the boss, because we still had 6 minutes left. We could have, you know, gone and done this trash, then done the boss, then come back and do the mushroom stack. But and then, you know, we could have maybe gained an extra 2 or 3 minutes or so on the buff throughout the dungeon, which probably would be worth a little like 10-second run that we had to do to get it. But yeah, we've gone on to now these two just bow breakers, I guess they're called. Just make sure you feint the furious thrashing and try and stay out of this bramble burst. It's really, really annoying when they're both like putting this down, especially when you have a lot of melee, because they obviously target people with it. So we're obviously running our what we call a smoke comp, which is basically all melee DPS. We have a Shami chucking down the Wind Fury totem. He's an enhancement. We got a warrior who massively benefits from the Wind Fury, and then myself, and then we've also got Holy Paladin and a bear tank. So definitely not meta comps that I've been playing recently. I do have a video from a theater pain coming out later this week, which is a bit more of a meta comp. So you'll see me in a more of a meta setting, I guess. But this is just, I don't know, it just shows that you really, really don't need to have like one mage, one hunter, one rogue, or boomy, and then what was the healer? Shaman healer and DH tank, which does happen to be what we ran on on the theater. But it just shows that you don't actually need it, you know, if you're coordinated. We're in comms for this and stuff like that, so it definitely works. Anyway, we're going with our prideful there. What I did want to say is on that thrashing on those two trash mobs, you can use your feint just to mitigate some damage. And just, yeah, it's kind of annoying with the brambles. So here, we're just pretty much smacking the boss. We're saving our cooldowns if we can. Obviously, as an outlaw rogue, my cooldowns come up so quick that I generally don't save them. But I should have my adrenaline rush coming up just when the boss is going to break through its thing. Obviously, Tyrannical. This is quite a long fight, to be honest. We're saving our bloodlust. We have our what's it called? Oh no, I've actually used my adrenaline rush. It seems I probably, looking back on this, should have saved that just so that we could maybe have like one less phase. I don't know. We'll see how many phases we get. But this one is annoying. We're making sure to kick the the actual boss when we can, unless he's casting on our warrior and our warrior has spell reflect. So if they're doing that, we can spell reflect his casts. But to be honest, now that I think about it, it's probably not that worth when he has his like damage reduction buff up, right? I mean, he's already at like 95, I guess, when we break shield, so maybe it is worth. But yeah, here we're just making sure we bloodlust, use our cooldowns, get as much damage as we can on this guy. He has 200% increased damage taken for I think it's like 10 seconds. And then he's still actually taking normal damage for another kind of like 30 seconds or so. I don't actually have a weaker that shows the timer, unfortunately. But I think he takes increased damage for 10, and then normal damage for 20, and then so you still want to be focusing the boss down once he's in his normal damage phase, I guess. Actually no, you should be focusing this Droman or a Fran guy and cleaving the boss, but it's still worth blade flurrying for like an extra few seconds, like an extra 20 seconds after he, like this Droman guy, are they both called Droman? No, after the Droman guy comes back up, you definitely want to be cleaving until you see that the boss is taking like 10 DPS from anything you're doing. Like right now he's taking like 38 from my blade throws, so I'm probably not going to blade throw him anymore. At least if I was me in the driving seat right now, I probably would not. But we're definitely wanting to phase him because obviously he's not one phaseable from this point, so we need to break the Stroman again to get the increased damage buff. There it is, 12 seconds of increased damage. I can see it on my weak rolls now on the right of the screen. So you just want to be, if you can, you probably don't really need to save much for this as a rogue, but any other class, like you'd probably want to save your big like combustions and stuff. It really depends on the fight length. If it's like your first time trying this dungeon on a certain difficulty, you don't really know the fight length. If we'd have got him a little bit lower, basically we decided here obviously that we need to kill the Stroman again. You see I'm main targeting the Droman Alfran guy. If this Ingram a lot guy was a little bit lower, like 10% or so, we'd probably make the call to just straight kill him from there, because we wouldn't need an extra phase. But we don't think that we can do 20% of his HP in the 20 seconds time that we had, so we decided to get back on the Droman guy so that we could get a third damage increase taken. It's really like a, I don't know, nuance. Is nuance the right word? It's a thing that you really just need to make a call at the time, and you're always just gonna want to like rephase him unless he's really low. Then you make the call to kill him, right? But yeah, you obviously want to utilize the damage buff because breaking the Droman guy is essentially free damage, and you're gonna need to do it sooner or later anyway, unless, as I said, you can skip it, the last phase. So now we're gonna finally kill him. It took us 3 phases, depending on your group, depending on the key, depending on your DPS, depending on how much burst you have, etc. There's so many variables that will decide, how many phases this boss takes you and things like that. So you did see our warrior die there, and that was the like the blue swirlies that he puts on the ground. That is actually kind of annoying. as a rogue, obviously, unless you have ranged DPS in your group, I have a pretty long kick range. The shaman also, so I can kind of like kick the Malok guy out of like from an increased range, right? Because I'm running the acrobatic strikes. I can kick his cast to like move him out of those swirlies. Kind of, I can run in and take like one tick, but you don't want to stand in the swirlies that's coming down. That does a ton of damage. But you do want to, you know, kick it and move him out. So also there's a fear on that boss. You can't really do much about it. We had tremor totems and things. So on this trash, pretty simple. Generally the order to kill is I'll tell you when they come. There's not one in this pack. Oh yeah, there are. There is a stalker, the Misfell stalker. These foxes, generally you want to get those down pretty quick. They leap on random people and bite them, and it's a pretty nasty dot. You see, I just got it there. That requires a bit of spot healing from your healer. So if you are a healer and you happen to be watching this video, if you see people get the dot, they're going to need some attention, especially on fortified. But yeah, in general, what we did there actually is we pulled the second pack through the wall. You can do that. Anything with any kind of range thing can pull through that wall. So we took an extra pack of trash, just so it's less trash that we need at the end of the dungeon. So we pull those two together. Watch out for the inspiring mobs, but yeah, you want to be kicking these tender mobs when they do their AoE heal, which I believe can be Blood Elf dispelled. There you go. The heal just went off there because we had a inspiring in the pack. So I Blood Elf silenced, or Blood Elf dispelled, I guess it is now, that off the pack. I want to be killing those tenders. We're calling kicks. We've had a warrior taunt that defender, the inspired defender, out of the pack. That's my kick right there. We've had him taunt that out the pack, and then I think we're going to roots him so that our warrior can get back on, you know, the main bulk of the pack. But yeah, you can also shiv. You can see these guys are enraged. I just shivved that defender just there. You can shiv off their enrage and things like that, but you want to be kicking. Obviously, not every week's going to be inspired, so to make this relevant for all weeks, I guess, we're going to be kicking off the. We're going to be kicking the tending mobs. We're going to be focusing the stalkers. I'll show you the spinny boys in a second when we get to them. I think they are these guardian guys. I think it's these guardians. And then there's the moths, these stingers. They are also pretty deadly. So stalkers and stingers, prio for, you know, killing them off quick, just to help with, you know, reducing the healing required. And then there's the tenders, which you just want to kick. Defenders, which are going to do that kind of like spear attack. Looks, I don't know if you played League of Legends, but that Pantheon kind of spear attack, or at least the old Pantheon. Yeah, you go. There's the spear attack. That's from the defender. You can just walk out of that, but if you can spare a gouge or something, once they start channeling the spear flurry, you can just like run in front. You know, as long as you don't have to stand in the spear, but you can stand, you know, so that they're 180 degrees forward as in front of you, so you can gouge them or kidney them or something. But if there's a defender, was it called? What was the other one? The spinny boys. I'll tell you when we next get one. We're definitely gonna get another one. But you basically want to chain CC their spinning kick. I'll tell you the exact spell name in a second, but you want to be chain CCing it. It doesn't go on cooldown. It's kind of like the blade storms from the Plagueful video, you know. It has to like wind up and then it channels down. If you interrupt it while it's still winding up, it doesn't actually put the spell on cooldown, so it's just going to recast it as soon as it leaves the CC. They are called Guardians. There you go, the Guardians, I think. So they're the spinny boys. They do the what's it called? Bucking rampage. So they spin around, they kick you back, and do quite a lot of damage. Even one tick. I've quite often tried to kidney shot it. Like, you know, I wait for the wind up, and as soon as it hits the end of the wind up, I gouge it or I kidney shot it, or something like that, right? And it still gets like one tick of instant damage on me, and it knocks me back, and it actually really, really hurts, especially on fortified. Firstly, it's really annoying because it knocks you back. Secondly, it does a ton of damage. So what you want to be doing is either like organizing in your group who's chain CCing it just so that it like delays the cast basically, or what you can do is evasion it and like evasion it in kidney, or evasion it in gouge or something, so you don't get knocked back. Or one cool thing that you can do is like take a step back, let the cast like wind all the way up, and then blind it as soon as it starts channeling, and then the blind will instantly break because your group's probably still attacking it. I mean, you as a rogue can actually stand on, or as outlaw at least, you can stand on the outside of the ring and you can still attack it because of acrobatic strikes, increased range, right? Sorry, I'm running out of breath. Fuck, I'm talking too much. So those ones, yeah, you obviously only have one blind, so if you can do the blind thing, otherwise you might just have to kite the rest of the pack away from them so you can keep your DPS up on the other things. But all of this trash pretty much just repeats itself. Sometimes you get a shit route and you end up with like a big dragon, in which case your tank just needs to pull it out of the like healing circle that it puts on the ground. Sometimes there's a frog which will just leap around and do kind of like a slam on the ground. Again, as a rogue with the increased range, common theme, I guess, common trend with Outlaw Rogue, having that increased range is really nice and really useful and can keep you uptime on mobs that other melee classes cannot. So it's really good. Yeah, so in general, like defenders or whatever, just move away from the spear thingy. Stingers need to die, stalkers need to die, interrupt the menders or shapers, and try your best to stop the spinny boys from spinning, basically. But obviously there's only so much that you can do, right? And then yeah, we're gonna get our pride, and I believe that we are going into the boss pretty soon. But yeah, I'll fast forward until we get that because I believe I've talked about all the trash now. So this boss is pretty simple. We didn't have the best group comp, as I said, so we didn't have too much CC. The thing that we do lack in this group, we're all friends and pre-made and things, but what we do lack is CC like big time. So a lot of groups, they run like a hunter or something like that, and that means that every time the freeze tag comes, which is this little fox that's spawning right now, and it chases you around, you can kind of, so as you can see there, like our druid rooted it and our warrior used intimidating shout. So we've already used up 2 of our CCs, which won't be back for the next one because it comes, I think, like I think it might be actually every 30 seconds. So we should be able to root every single one. Obviously the guessing game is what it is what it is. It's pretty much oh no, I think it's every 15. So we don't have a CC for this one. We have a vortex on it now. I have only 1 blind, which I can probably use like once or maybe twice in this whole fight. But yeah, the guessing game, you just do what it is. I am calling the dodgeball. Obviously sometimes I don't need to call it because we're just standing on the boss. Everyone can see the arrows on the ground. But I've made a habit of always calling this dodgeball on Discord all the time. Every time my weak core comes up that says dodge, as you can probably see throughout the fight, I'm just going to say dodge. Like that's all I do. And it's just simple calls like that, which can kind of like help your group because sometimes people do get caught off guard by this kind of thing. We've had a couple of actually depletes on this key. This is considered one of the easier keys. We've actually had a couple of depletes on this key from people just getting like caught unaware by the dodgeball, right? So I blinded that one. It's probably a little bit too close. Oh no, it's sitting in the roots. It's sitting in the roots. So yeah, all you have to really do on this fight is keep as best uptime as you can. Obviously, the quicker that you get the guessing game down, the better. Dodge the dodgeballs, of course. They're pretty easy to dodge, especially if you get a weak aura for it. And then, yeah, just try, if you have like a hunter, they can trap, I believe, every single Vulpin. Otherwise, you're just going to have to rotate CCs through your group. So we just about manage it with like a mixture of roots and fears and blinds and vortexes, and we've got Hodge, and I can kidney it. If we're in dire need of a CC, I can run over to it. Don't make, like, it has a little blue circle around it if you can see when it spawns. That's like its range that it's going to blow up and do like an AoE stun, and it's a really long stun. It's like an 8-second AoE stun, so you really do not want to have that to hit anybody. Because you're outlaw, again, common theme, acrobatic strikes helping out big time. You can get, you can get pretty close. You don't have to get too close to it to chuck a kidney shot on it, right? So if you have no other CC, you see our paladin just hodged it there. I could run over to it, chuck like a 6-point kidney on it. That'll pretty much take care of it until it despawns. And yeah, it should be okay. Slows are also good for it, but don't stress about it too much. And as you can see, my boss damage is actually not too bad, considering I'm an outlaw rogue, and that's pretty much a single target fight. I mean, you can't really do damage to the boss when you're in the guessing game. You're obviously not really hitting the Vulpine Familiar, so I'd say that's decent. And then this trash is pretty simple, to be honest. It's pretty much just Zerg it down. There's a couple mechanics which I'll talk you through. We were arguing here. Our druid is our Night Fae, and he'd only just gone Night Fae, and then he instantly regretted it. But he didn't realize that you had to like activate the resurrection beacons in this dungeon. So we told him to go back, and he was like, "Nah, we won't die." But as you can see, we have 11 minutes, and that is so much time. And we were like, "Honestly, dude, it is not worth like." It's gonna take you 10 seconds to go back and activate it. He was like, "Nah, dude, we're not gonna die. It's gonna be fine." I was like, "It's just not worth the risk." And there's points like this in every key where you just have to think like, we're not like, if we were going for a 2 chest and every second counted and we really need this 2 chest, like 4 minutes is not enough for a 2 chest. Like we have to do like 35% trash and a tyrannical boss. Like there's no way that's happening. But 11 minutes is so much time. So you just have to like kind of like, you know, make an educated, I don't know, decision, I guess, on what you're gonna go for. And it's just sometimes not worth like, it's not worth like being lazy over, you know. Like if we'd wiped and he hadn't activated, the key's gone. That's straight up it. But it's like 10 seconds off the timer if he goes and activate it. So we were kind of like telling him, just reality check, dude, you know. And it's always worth doing that kind of thing. Really, really don't take risks when you don't have to in keys. Obviously, you know, you have to make decisions on the fly of when is a risk and when it's not, and when it's a good, like when it's risk versus reward. But for that, it was like very, very, like very, very low risk for very, very high reward. And those are the kind of decisions that just don't, you know, you should never make in life in general, you know. So this trash, pretty simple. Dealing with the inspirings, as you can see on that little grub, we rooted him and pulled the pack backwards. And then once everything, you know, the only interruptible mob that you actually need to interrupt in every pack, and it's not in every single pack, but it's these Spinemaw Staghorns. Basically, all that happens is my tank takes the first interrupt, and I take the second interrupt, and that is literally it. And usually it dies after 2 casts. And then if it ever does more than that, you know, we have people to fill in. So sometimes it does the shield first and then the heal second. Sometimes it does the heal first and the shield second. As you can see, I got a nice little 5 buff there. Feels good, man. Cheeky little 5 buff. You love to see it. I did run Deeper Stratagem in this key. And yeah, honestly, like, I really can't decide between Vigor and Deeper Strat. I think they're both really good. I don't know. It just really depends on my mood. I stand by what I said. I put it in the comments on the last video. Vigor just feels like you always have energy, and that means that, you know, you can chuck a kidney out, you can chuck a gouge out, and you don't feel too bad about it. And also, you know, you're getting more finishes because you're using your finishes on 4 or 5 common points instead of 5 or 6. I don't know if I said all about this in the last video or not. I think I talked about it. But yeah, I'll go over it again. And basically that should be more count the odds procs. And this week, just as I'm recording this, we just got our 21 renown as well. So as Kyrian, we now have, I think most covenants, but I know that Kyrian definitely does have now 2 potency slots. So I'm not actually sure what we're taking in the second one. I'll probably let you know in the next video what I took. But I'm thinking it's most likely going to be the other Roll the Bones one. So it'll double up kind of with count the odds. So it'll probably be like 2 Roll the Bones conduits, or the reverberations, you know, the Kyrian ability. What's it called? Oh, what's that ability called? You know the one, the Kyrian artifact ability. Echoing reprimand. Is that it? Yeah, that one. But I only have that in like 170, the blue one, like that you start with, because I did not get lucky off the world boss. So for me, probably not going to use that one, at least not yet. But you know, it just does like increased damage on echoing reprimand. That one's probably decent because it does work with blade flurry. It's probably decent if you do have the conduit. I would sim it, I guess, because that would work on single target and everything. But generally, you can't really go wrong with more roll the bones buffs, right? Like more chance to get buffs, and then you use count the odds on top of that. So quite often you'll probably get 2 buffs, and then you can use your you know, get your count the odds procs. So all this trash is pretty simple. As it's been playing on the screen, I've just been talking about random stuff, but in general, the only one that you really need to pay attention to for interrupting is the Staghorn. And as I said, just you need like a 2-man interrupt rotation on that. Just someone say I take first, and then you take second. That's pretty much it. As you can see here, we're routing the lava again so that we can interrupt this Staghorn in the pack, and we're going to do the exact same interrupt order. And other than that, this trash is pretty simple. It puts some goo on the ground. You just don't want to stand in that. As you see there, there's that big swirly. That's what leaves the goo actually. So the big swirly actually does a knockback. If you do stand in that swirly, you'll get knocked back. And obviously that's very dangerous on the previous kind of like bridge that we were on, because you can get knocked off. But yeah, generally dodge the swirly on the ground. Sometimes you get a little green ring around you that just does pulsing damage to you, and it will do AoE, so make sure that you don't cleave your teammates with that. And then it's just interrupting the Staghorn. And here I think we were like a tiny bit short on trash. I think Mythic Dungeon Tools Mythic Dungeon Tools has been screwing us around. So we just pulled down this Reaver pack, which don't do too much. They do look kind of a nasty dot on the tank, but he got a bop to cleanse his necrotic stacks, and then we're pretty much all good. And as you can see, we have 5 minutes to kill the boss now. And this boss does take a while, and it's really annoying, especially as a melee. But we got 5 minutes to do the pride and the boss now, so that should be very, very simple. As you can see here, I just kind of stood back and told them watch out while I waited for my pride. Sometimes it is worth, not chasing and running with the first pride while if you're repositioning the pride mob. Sometimes it's better to just be like, I'll come off it for 3 or 4 seconds. 3 or 4 seconds of DPS is not that much, like it is not actually that much damage over the whole thing, especially if you're not like really, really, really push for time as we went here. So I was just like, you know what, just move the mob. Watch out for me though. Just look where I am. Be conscious of that. That was obviously a call I made on Discord, and then no one got hit, which was lovely to see. Lovely to see. We're actually going pretty low here because I think the Pally is actually out of healing cooldowns, because that last pack was a little bit messy. But yeah, this boss, pretty annoying, to be honest. Pretty annoying. Has a really small hitbox compared to like how big the model is. I don't like, it just feels really awkward a lot of the time. You're really, really tight for space very often, and there's a lot of like moving around that you have to do, and there's a lot of stuff on the floor which does quite a lot of damage. You see that green stuff on the floor? It actually does like a decent amount of damage. If you even just step in it for like 1 second, it can take like a third of your HP. So definitely look out for that. Again, you see these swirlies coming down here which leave the stuff on the ground. You really, really, really do not want to get hit by those. And obviously those big white ones, that's pretty self-explanatory, but even the little green ones, they do tons of damage, and sometimes they're pretty difficult to dodge, honestly. Just make sure you move out with that mind link thingy. Also, the green swirlies note that sometimes they follow you. Honestly, it feels really inconsistent how they work. Sometimes they follow you, sometimes they don't follow you, sometimes they're just spreading out. I don't know. They have a mind of their own. But what you really want to be doing is making sure you're killing these ads. They actually do a pretty significant amount of damage. They fixate people, as you can see here. We're all melee, so we got all this green shit everywhere, and I took like a little tick through it because it was under the water effect, and I didn't think that I was actually walking through it, but apparently, it was like buried. The graphic was buried under the water, so I took a tick, and it actually sent me kind of low. What you do want to be doing is breaking the mind link and making sure that you're kicking. You have to kick the consumption, or otherwise you wipe. Like you can kick it late or early or whatever, but what you definitely want to never, ever go through is this parasitic domination thing. He always does it, or she, I think, actually always does it. Pretty soon after she finishes the consumption, when she goes over to eat the seed, right? If that goes on someone, if she gets that cast off, it's going to like mind control. Oh, my FPS just ripped there. But yeah, she's going to mind control somebody, or like set them into like a state where they can't do anything, and you have to DPS them out, and it's just it's almost pretty much a wipe. Like you have to do, it's quite a hard recovery from that point. You see those green things? Like they're really, really annoying. We're doing our best to move the boss around the room. It obviously goes back to the center each time to eat the seed and do the consumption thing, but we're trying to move the boss around, but it's really hard to move because it's such a big model. But we're trying to stack up and cleave down these ads, and then all the green stuff comes, and then it's kind of like there. I don't think I actually was standing in that, but it almost killed me. So I don't know. That ability is super weird. Honestly, I would just say don't risk it. Just be really, really safe. Move the fuck away from the boss when that comes down, because I think it has the animation. But then the swirlies that spawn from the animation are slightly bigger than the actual swirlies that are on the ground. Like the green stuff that spawns is slightly bigger than the stuff on the ground. So mind link, run away from your teammates. kick, especially the parasitic domination, is after each seed thingy. So it's at the start of the fight, and then after, it's like basically you can imagine it like two phases, like the uptime phase and then the downtime phase. Basically at the start of the uptime phase each time. And I actually got a big chest upgrade there, like a huge chest upgrade. I was going up from 184 to 210, which is massive. But yeah, pretty like simple but really annoying boss. Just kill the ads, run away from your team with Mind Link, kick the kicks, and just play it safe. Like really play it safe. That one can really catch you off guard and just like have silly deaths, which you know, it's just an annoying fight because there's so much movement and things. And I'm complaining even as a rogue with increased range. Like I couldn't imagine what it's like for like the warrior or shaman here. It must be just a horrible experience. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty simple dungeon. Hopefully I covered everything. If you do have any questions, obviously chuck them in the comment section. I'm pretty much replying to every single one that I can find in the comment section. And yeah, feel free to come hang out on stream. I'll put that one up on the screen again for you now, and I'll link that of course down below, along with all my other social medias and my Discord if you want to come and make some friends, etc., or you know, get in contact with me, things like that. But yeah, pretty okay key, and hopefully I didn't blabber on too much. I'm kind of doing this all freehand. I'm trying out, you know, this style of doing videos. I'll probably do some more polished ones in guide form, but this is more of kind of just a yeah. Someone came to my stream. They said it's more like a walkthrough, and I was like, you know what? It's more like a talk through. So we're gonna go with talk through. I feel like that's a pretty fitting name. I'm kind of talking, I'm rambling on. I get distracted, but hopefully I get the information out. Hopefully it's not too hard to listen to. Do let me know any constructive criticisms down below and things like that. But yeah, I'll leave you guys to it, and hopefully I'll see some of you over on stream. Of course, like the video. All right, do like the video, subscribe if you're new. Just do it. Just hit that button, subscribe if you're new. And especially if you want to see more content and stuff, I'll be having another video coming out this week, and yeah, maybe see some of you on the stream. We're doing a big stream this weekend. Blah 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 blah. Some of you probably don't want to hear about it. Anyway, check out the stream, like the video, and I'll see you guys all in the Theater of Pain coming soon. TM. Okay. Until then, peace.